Abort! 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 Ow! Hello, Biomechanable here, and welcome to another scrap mechanic video. Today I'm going to showcase for you my dropship / escape pod and my idea for a multi-stage rocket booster. I'm going to try and do my best to explain how they work here. They're both pretty simple systems, but they have to be tied together in order to form a fully flying craft. This one, as you'd imagine, doesn't hover or fly. It's meant to bring you into a nice soft landing when dropped from this lifter rocket, so they, as you would expect, separate in midair. This was developed as a way for me to test the escape pod without the need for a second player. The lifter rocket is really simple to understand. It just took me a while to come up with a good design that met all the requirements, most of them being that it turned off after the craft had separated so it didn't continue boosting all over my map, causing lag. There are only 2 buttons, and really it would be a better idea to have this first system on the pod, but there's just no room left for it. When you press the purple button, it activates these little arms here which grip into the slots in the doors and hold the 2 craft together, and then when the red button is pressed, these sensors, which are right now facing outwards, they rotate down and register that the 2 craft are one, and that ignites all the engines and carries us up. Once in motion, all steering of the craft is controlled from the driver's seat of the escape pod here. These 4 engines on the bottom, which are meant to control tip of the pod during descent, also control tip during ascent, because you can maneuver the tip of the ring by controlling the tip of the craft since they're linked together. In order to tip left or right, I use these sensors here and these little bars that hang down and have been hooked up to the steering wheel, and they tip left or right. And the sensors pick that up so that we can tip the craft left or right. I hotkeyed the number 2 button to S so that I can tip backwards as well as forwards when I press W. The 6 engines around the outside are activated by pressing 1. As I explained, not enough to cause us to fly, but they do allow us to glide in, and they provide 6-way stabilization. Every tip angle of everything on here is 30 degrees, except for the doors. In order to dock the craft together, you simply pick up the escape pod, place it in the middle of your ring, and then bring it down. They kind of, jiggle together a little bit, but they fit right. You climb inside, click your clamp button, and then once you got the 2 craft locked as one, you can go ahead and give her a test. You got a second to get into your seat. Always set the rotation to slowest as possible. Now we are lifting into the heavens. You might be wondering what happens if we get out of control and we need to abort. If I were to activate the escape pod now, the doors would close on the top of the escape pod. They would pull themselves off of the clamps, which would allow me to escape. The 2 craft would fall apart, the rockets on the lifter ring would turn off, and we could get back to the ground pretty quickly. The other thing is there is no control over rotation of this craft. You're kind of at the mercy of whichever way the craft feels like rotating at any given minute. But again, it's just an escape pod. It's just meant to help you get to the ground in an emergency in case your larger craft is going down for whatever reason. Once we reach skybox here, we'll do a test. Once you're all the way up here, you just release your clamps, which it takes them a second to fully release. Again, always use slowest rotations, that way you have time to get back in your seat. The 2 craft fall apart, and the engines turn off. We don't want to be underneath the craft when it comes down here. I learned that in my early test. That's a bad idea. Now we'll stabilize and get ourselves right side up so that we're facing the ground good. And deploy main engines. A nice safe landing. A little bit rough, but then again, it's pretty rough when the cosmonauts come barreling back into the frozen tundra too. As a final note, this was the smallest I could make a flight craft. Its dimensions are 10 by 10 and it's 11 tall, or 8 when the hatch is closed, and I had to strip it of all non-essential flight systems. So if you could build something smaller with greater capabilities, I would love to see it, and you should post me a link in the comments below. If you found this video useful, remember to give it a like. It'll help encourage me to make more like it. But until next time, I'm out. See you later, everybody.
Surprise.